kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life feels lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds, and when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
What's up, guys? Roger Debo, front tire changer for the 45 Alpha Prime car. You're watching Sim Racing Media.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
From Phoenix Raceway in Avondale, Arizona, the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series is ready to crown our 2022 Season 14 champion in the desert tonight. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Championship Week here on Sim Racing Media. It all comes down to Tuesday night. We've been together since July for another exciting season of Cup Series racing, and what a wild year it has been. From the dominating performances of GT Hawkins and company to the drama, the fiery passion of each of these drivers carry each week. This season has had it all. After 15 weeks of hard-charging competition, we are now focused on the Final Four in Season 14 with GT Hawkins, Bryce Senesek, DJ Weeks, and John Sterling. Everything is on the table for these drivers, and no stone will be left unturned as we're ready to settle in for the final 170 laps of the season. I'm Dave Regal, alongside the best in the business, Mr. Tony Trapasso, here in the broadcast booth, and we'll be with you every step of the way, from the green flag to the checkered flag on Sim Racing Media. And Tony, as I just said, it's been 15 weeks of hard-charging racing here in the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series, and tonight will be no different, as it is all hands on deck for this race.
Dave, and especially with the points battle as tight as it is right now, we only have a 7-point spread from first to fourth, but you know, this isn't your normal championship race where you just have to beat the other three guys. They are collecting points. Points do count, and whoever accumulates the most points last week and this week combined will be your champion. Now, there's a few caveats in there. With as short of a field as we have, only 14 haulers in the infield tonight, you know, anything could happen here. And we've seen anything happen just over the past week here in Sim Racing Media. And Sunday night was no exception. Monday night was no exception here at Phoenix.
Absolutely. I mean, Phoenix in so many of our leagues, of course, is the championship site. And, you know, looking at GT Hawkins and the points that are separating him from John Sterling, I mean, it is usually a tight race, so as it is, and things are getting even tighter. I mean, the heat in the desert is one thing, but then when we crank it up for championship night, it's even crazier. And speaking of our championship four, John Sterling getting ready to go out here and lay that first lap time.
Oh, which car is he in this week?
Well, this is an interesting... I can't get the points off the screen. Stand by.
Yeah, you have to refire that.
Yep, that's going to have to be fixed. There we go. Anyway, he is in the number 3. Stuart Haas. I can't do this one.
Hold on.
Dodge
I can't even see it because nothing is working for me either.
Nice.
Yeah,
he is
my
in the
screen
Stuart
completely
Haas
locked up.
number 3 Dodge SRT Ford Mustang.
Again.
There, I said it. I said
Again.
it. Yes.
So you should be used to it by now. It took us half a season to get used to saying the GM Goodwrench Ford Mustang, and I still twitch every time I say that.
Well, Sterling the first to complete his qualifying effort here. So far, his first lap, he goes purple with 27.34. That's pretty quick. Let's see what the second lap looks like. You know, we've had a lot of series, like you were just mentioning, Sunday night and Monday night, you know, finishing their championship runs for the season. Sunday night, of course, in the Davis Brothers Roofing SNN Cup Series, a champion was crowned in RJ Root, and, you know, right here at Phoenix. A lot of these Cup drivers we're going to see, you know, basically not really having to beat the bejesus out of their cars as much as we're going to see these tires have to hold up for most of this race. About 60 laps on the 75% fuel load for a tank of Go Fast, Tony.
Yeah, these guys are going to be waiting on tires. You know, they're going to want tires well before they need fuel. But if you keep your wits about you, you could make this as a two-stop race.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of drivers were trying to do. I mean, we had, to be fair, the Davis Brothers Roofing Cup Series on Sunday night. They wound up having enough cautions where we wound up burning through 4 sets of tires, at least, you know, my crazy self did. But, a lot of drivers were able to keep at least one in the back pocket. This track is definitely not a cheese grater by any stretch. But
That can be.
It can be, absolutely. And speaking of this track, let's take a look at our race info for the evening. A lot of graphics floating around on TV. 78 degrees, the outside ambient air temperature, but 85 on the track. So definitely cooler than we've seen in some of our races here in Championship Week. In fact, the highest that I saw so far was 101 degrees on the track. So 85, nice and cool. That shouldn't be too awful for beating these tires down.
Yeah, anything under 90 here is good. But, hey, I'm back. There we go.
Look at you. Don't
Look
worry.
at
We've only been doing this for 15 weeks. It's about time we finally got our act together. Folks, we were just faking the last 15 weeks. Now you're really going to get to see us work.
Well, the good news is I don't have to hear you talk about baseball.
My heart wasn't really... Yeah, it was. Okay.
So let me ask you this. This is the only baseball question I'm going to ask ever.
Go ahead.
Are you coming to Syracuse for the Savannah Bananas game?
Oh, my God, yes. Oh, I've been following them on TikTok. I can't wait. I can't wait. They are like...
For those of you wondering what we're talking about, open up another tab. Don't click off the race. Just open up another tab and Google Savannah Bananas.
Picture the Harlem Globetrotters, but baseball.
Yes.
And they, in my opinion, they are the greatest show right now in baseball that's not a real game.
Well, it's a real game. It's just they have fun with it.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I am definitely excited, and I saw that they're going to Syracuse. They will be in Myrtle Beach at some point. They play all three levels of the minors, which is interesting. But it's entertainment. It's absolutely good entertainment. Speaking of good entertainment, Monica Clayman's son, David Clayman, out here finishing up his second lap as he's got about a half lap to go coming down the backstretch. He went fourth fastest in the first flyer, and just as he hauls it off into turn 3, the Fort Bliss, Texas native rolls it out to 4, and just as he gets to the cactus, let's see how he finishes up.
Negates the lap. He brushed the wall coming off at 2.
Definitely did. But the number 15 Scum Chevrolet still sitting on the outside of row number 2 for the time being, as Bryce Senesac, GT Hawkins, and DJ Weeks, the other 3 playoff drivers who have not gone out to lay down their qualifying efforts, I would say about half the field hasn't come out yet for qualifying.
Oh, it looks like they're trying to wait for that temperature to drop. The only problem is we're in the desert. Good luck with that.
And folks, if you are just tuning in, you are watching the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series live here on Sim Racing Media on YouTube.com. Tony Trapasso and Dave Regal with you here in the broadcast booth. Glad to have our family with us tonight as Monica Clayman in, as always. Monica, glad to have you with us. The She Evil Misfit, glad to have you with us once again. And, Tony, it's really terrible. I feel like we're going to miss a lot of our viewers over the off season here for the Ricmotech series. I mean, we just have some really great viewers that check in with us week in and week out.
We do, and we need to mention that our good friend Monica is having a procedure done tomorrow, and thoughts and prayers going out to make sure that she can be with us next season as well.
Absolutely. I mean, and Monica also, the proud winner of some SRM swag that it took quite a while, but finally got her hooked up there with the swag department. But here we go. DJ Weeks getting ready to run out on his qualifying effort in the number 97 Autism Awareness Chevrolet Camaro. Once again, just 2 Toyotas in the field tonight, just 2 blue ovals in the field. Everybody else very bow tie heavy, Tony.
Which is normal for this series. One of the series that we do that is more Chevy heavy. And I'd like to point out there's only one Ford in the field tonight.
thought I counted. Yeah, I've got 2. Alex Carr and John Sterling.
Say that again.
All right, I realize that John Sterling is painted like a Dodge, but under the hood, that thing is Motocraft. It's even more confusing. Is it Mopar? Is it Motocraft?
Mopar is the Chrysler performance brand.
But I'm saying, if John Sterling is painted like a Mopar machine, but he's driving a real Ford machine, which does he identify with? Mopar?
Well,
or Motocraft?
well, let me just point this out to you. There's a few things that the acronym Ford stands for. Found on road dead, fix or repair daily, so on and so on. One of them is farted over rebuilt Dodge.
Well, that works for me.
And if you spell Ford backwards, it stands for driver returns on foot.
Well, see, now I didn't think about that. Now, I vaguely recall an episode of King of the Hill where it was Fix It Again, Tony, but that turned out to be Fiat.
Yeah, that's Fiat, bud.
Well, listen, that's courtesy of Dale Gribble.
Of course, I'd also like to point out that the Chrysler Corporation is partly owned by Fiat,
Very true.
so it's kind of fitting.
Wow. GT Hawkins just went purple here with a 27.16 second lap.
Holy crap on a cracker, Batman.
Yeah, he just whipped the bejesus out of Jeremy Clifton, who laid down a 27.28.
There's a giant middle finger to the rest of the field.
Yeah, you can see right here on the left side of your screen, folks, in our timing tower, that each of these you can see everybody's time now. Jeremy Clifton and DJ Weeks, they're basically the same. In fact, Tony, do you have the third decimal point for Clifton and Weeks?
I will in a second. 27.159 for Hawkins, 27.280 for Clifton, 27.281 for Weeks.
So Weeks just 1,000th of a second behind Clifton. That has to taste awful in his mouth right about now.
You mean DJ's mouth?
Yes.
Okay.
As qualifying is complete, young man. So let's take a look at that beautiful bean footage that is our starting grid here. High atop Phoenix Raceway. GT Hawkins, your pole sitter here after laying down that fast time. Jeremy Clifton going to be on the outside of row number 1 in P2. Row number 2 made up of DJ Weeks and Bryce Senesac. So 3 out of your top 4 in points tonight going to be starting in the top 4, then rounding out that top 4 in your points. John Sterling on the inside of row number 3 with Rich Reimuller in Spaceballs, the Camaro starting in P6. Row number 4 made up of David Clayman in the number 15 Scum Chevrolet with Clifton Cockrell starting on the outside in 8th position. Row number 5 and rounding out the top 10 are Mark Hurricane Hanna and Greg Carr in the number 25 Chevrolet Camaro, Tony.
Alex Carr in the 26 is going to be joined on row number 6 with David Elliott in the 40 Deuce. Dustin Carroll and Wes Grant rounding out the field of starters here tonight at Phoenix for the season finale.
You know, Tony, I can't stress it enough, but it truly does all come down to this. I mean, it's been a long season, and Jeremy Clifton and GT Hawkins deserve to be sitting atop the pile. I mean, Jeremy Clifton, I'm not saying he's been the most, let's just say, is there smoke? Oh, there he is. He's just heating up his tires. But, I'm not saying that Jeremy Clifton belongs in the top 4 in points, but he has been competitive all season. So starting on the outside of GT Hawkins, I think we're going to see an excellent start to this race.
That goes to say all 4 of our final 4 drivers have had very strong seasons. As the pace car peels on off in this very weird pit road entry coming off of 2.
I'll say it is.
And it's bizarre. When they reformulated this track, they left the pit road right where it was. As they come down the back straightaway that used to be the front straightaway, the only thing left to say is it's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, grab some tacos, because it's time to get it on in Phoenix. Race fans, it's show time!
GT Hawkins taking that early trip down on the dog leg to the apron. He gets a good start over Jeremy Clifton as we are 3 wide deeper in the pack here. He decided to get that sorted out quickly as Rich Reimuller and John Sterling going side by side. Now they go single file as we're getting ready to be strung out, as we see so often here, single file. But everybody still fighting for position as we see DJ Weeks in the 97 deciding not to take that dog leg, maybe not trying to upset these cars. Tony, I'll tell you what, after trying to take the dog leg several times Sunday night, it is in these next gen cars, it is darn near impossible to keep that car underneath you without excellent throttle control.
Well, it has to do a lot with the fact that the independent rear suspension, these things have an anti-sway bar on them now, as opposed to just a solid axle with a track bar. So once you hit a bump with one side, it also reacts to the wheel on the opposite side of the car from that. So they've got the 2 front wheels tied together, 2 rear wheels tied together. So it's very easy to get one of these things upset coming through that dog leg, especially on cold tires, which everybody tiptoeing right now as Clayman and Weeks go door to door coming through the dog leg now.
They do, and now Clayman puts his sights on, wow, slides down right across the front of DJ Weeks. He is between 2 playoff drivers who are both vying for that Season 14 crown tonight, as Clayman just about took the nose off the front of DJ Weeks' Autism Awareness Chevrolet, as now he puts John Sterling right in the crosshairs as they roll out of turn 4, crossing the start-finish line. Looks like he's still trying to get a little bit of an edge with DJ Weeks, but I would dare say that somebody's going to be playing with fire down here on this dog leg.
Yeah, well, we've seen that all week. This is where most of our leagues have come since last Thursday. And, you're flirting with disaster going through that dog leg. If you're on the outside, you really have to be mindful of where that car next to you is. Because if they don't take as much dog leg as you want to, you're both going to be piecing the car back on the trailer as tow trucks are going to need to be called.
Tow trucks and probably an arbitrator who's going to have to sort out the argument that is sure to ensue after you make contact with one another down on the dog leg. I mean, I saw it repeatedly in Sunday Night NASCAR. I saw it last night on the Independence Racing Network on Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series Racing, and I mean, it is just race after race, I should say, here at Championship Phoenix. It's just dangerous down there on the dog leg.
It's very easy to get it wrong. I've never been a fan of the open dog leg here ever since it came out. Is David Elliott brushes the wall coming off a 2 there. It's going to cost him a little bit of momentum as Alex Carr and Greg Carr trying to reel him back in.
Wes Gant about to be passed by Dustin Carroll. What is going on back there? Dustin Carroll way down on the dog leg, and now they're nearly 3 wide, so it looks like Dustin Carroll. We're going to take a quick run back here on replay and see exactly what was going on here with Dustin Carroll coming out of turn number 4. And Carroll coming out of 4, it's almost like he just took the dog. He did exactly what I was talking about earlier. Took that dog leg a little too violently, and it just upset the car.
As we got a battle for second starting to heat up, as Bryce Senesac and Jeremy Clifton were side by side while we were watching that replay. They got it sorted back out as GT Hawkins almost a second to the good already. And then you're half a second separation between Senesac in 3rd and Rich Reimuller in 4th.
Yeah, you can check out that battle there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Jeremy Clifton almost a full second and now more behind GT Hawkins. So these drivers slowly but surely starting to sort out where they're going to be. Right now, one of the closest battles on the racetrack is between Senesac and Clifton. And right now, that Glory Pole Company #1 Chevrolet holding Senesac off. And to me, it seems like Senesac is one of those drivers that lurks in the weeds and waits for you to make a mistake. Here with 11 laps in of 170 in the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series, I don't think we're going to see Senesac get even close to aggressive this early in the race.
Well, there's a reason why they call him Bryce the Iceman Senesac. He'll just stalk you. you really feel, Dave?
Well, fortunately, that particular thought was not live on air, but definitely making me look like I don't know what I'm talking about as Senesac finally sees the open door and gets around Jeremy Clifton.
Well, he doesn't quite get around him, but this one thing we haven't seen all weekend so far is that second lane can defend through 1 and 2. Bottom lane is where you want to be. Coming through 3 and 4.
Wow,
Jeepers. Another coat of paint, they would have been in deep trouble. If that lets Senesac fall back into the clutch of Rich Reimuller in the Spaceballs, the Camaro number 92.
Yeah, and Rich Reimuller all season long has been an entertaining watch for us. I mean, mostly because we both have this sick affinity for Mel Brooks films. But you know
True
what?
story.
Rich Reimuller is a driver that we could have seen in the championship for this week, but unfortunately, due to league rules, he was not eligible for the playoffs. He simply came in too late in the season. But you know what? In talking with him a couple of weeks ago, he's absolutely ready to be here for season 15. That will, of course, be starting up in just a few weeks, I assume. And, Rich is one of those drivers that I think we're going to see come back year after year because he is just that kind of a competitor.
We need to hope so because, it's refreshing to see new guys come into series like this and really put the rest of the league on notice. And that's something that Reimuller has absolutely done, especially in his first 2 starts. He went back-to-back, didn't he?
Yeah. In his first 2 starts, he went back-to-back, and then we found out that he wouldn't be eligible for the playoffs.
Ain't that a kick in the knackers?
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, and those 2 wins, I mean, he went ludicrous speed and went to plaid. I mean, he was dominant in those performances. But speaking of dominant right now, GT Hawkins has decided this is his racetrack as he has now opened up a 2.4-second lead over top of Jeremy Clifton and Bryce Senesac.
He's got so much of a lead right now, he could hang his arm out the window, give the rest of the field a giant middle finger, and light a cigarette.
I didn't realize you went to the Dick Trickle School of Driving.
You're welcome.
I always thought that was an interesting... There we go, clearing out some spam here in the YouTube live chat. But
I got you.
I always thought that... I got it. I always thought that was an interesting thing with Dick Trickle. I mean, kids, we don't want you to take up tobacco usage like Uncle Tony and Uncle Dave. But, here's the thing. That guy was just old school. He had a hole drilled in the front of a full face mask helmet so he could still smoke a cigarette. And I guess when you're wearing a fire suit, you can let that thing drop and it'll eventually go out.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty hot in the car anyway, not like you're going to notice.
Depends on where you drop that cigarette butt.
Fair point. It just
As a former
makes
truck
me
driver,
think...
I can answer to that, really.
Well, that's a fair point. But, it's one of those situations where it's like, today we would call him a badass.
Yeah. That's absolutely it.
Speaking of badasses, David Clayman taking that dog leg and showing him who's boss as he works his way around DJ Weeks. 19 laps, working our way toward lap number 20 of 170, as David Clayman just put DJ Weeks on notice as now they're, getting ready to almost make contact coming down into turn 3. DJ Weeks pushes Clayman up the racetrack to get him back out of the way. He's now being followed by Mark Hurricane Hanna in the 45, and David Clayman not even trying to give up any room tonight.
He doesn't have to. He's got nothing to really lose here. He's not racing for a championship. He's racing for a race win. And, the guys that have nothing to lose are the most dangerous tonight.
Listen, I'm there with them. They're, let the championship guys duke it out amongst themselves and everybody else fight for the checkered flag.
Yeah, sounds good.
Right now, David Clayman running around the 42 of David Elliott. I'm afraid maybe David rubbed a little bit too much off these tires too early, as now Mark Hanna getting around him. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, GT Hawkins has now opened up a 3.81 second lead over top of Jeremy Clifton.
That's impressive. That very much is impressive.
GT Hawkins reminds me, the Columbus, Ohio native reminds me a lot of a certain driver you and I are very familiar with from the Western States Racing League. He is out here just dominating, and the young man has such a big career ahead of him here on iRacing.
He does at that, and that's something that it's refreshing to see. These young gunners coming in, and that racing is in safe hands for at least another generation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially with the way that technology has driven iRacing and the entire community, really. I mean, a couple of years ago, obviously iRacing, very popular, but still a very closed community. And for all of the bad things that, the COVID pandemic did for the rest of the world, the one thing that it did very good for was iRacing and sim racing overall. It really brought a lot of eyeballs to our sport.
Yeah, it absolutely did. And, it's a double-edged sword, too, because when it first started happening, servers were crashing because they didn't know how to handle that many people. Luckily, iRacing was right on the ball, and it only happened for about a week. And then we were back to normal operating status, but there's been more people in the past 2 years on the server than there were in 5 years in front of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, Fox Sports being able to put, real NASCAR drivers behind the wheel of their actual at-home racing rigs during the pandemic, for, of course, health safety reasons, really got a lot of people interested, including myself. I mean, I was just cracking into iRacing when, the pandemic was going on for that exact reason. Bob Nestor said to me, "Hey, listen, since your Xbox is dead, why don't you try this?" I said, "All right, well, I guess we'll give it a try." And
we can blame him.
Oh, it's his fault, absolutely. He basically walked up to me with a bag of iRacing, and I snorted every bit of it I could.
Kind of like that scene from Scarface.
Yes.
Say hello to my little friend.
Yes. And I think a lot of people in the, over the last year and a half, 2 years, since the beginning of that pandemic, could tell a story a lot like myself. And, it's, for me, it's like, I come walking into the room and then there's a veteran like you that's like, no, we've been here for a while. Y'all just didn't know we were in this room.
Yeah, pretty much.
Taking a look back here.
That's the way it's been, man.
Well, I think it's wonderful that, so many more eyeballs have gotten to iRacing and looked at not just iRacing on the whole, but sim racing and the usefulness that it has in real life racing every day. I mean, we've talked about it before. At a real life race, the Cup Series drivers might get 2 sessions of about 40 minutes each on the track in real conditions in the real cars. But they're putting hundreds of laps and dozens of hours in the simulator, and a lot of that technology comes from right here in iRacing.
It absolutely does, and you can see, perfect example, Martinsville 2 weeks ago. That was a pure iRacing rookie street stock move.
Oh, absolutely. What did Frank say? Tell me you've raced NASCAR 2009 without telling me you've raced NASCAR 2009.
Yeah.
He's not wrong. I mean, you can practice that here on iRacing without breaking your arms. And I can't imagine in real life what kind of pain that was to ride the wall like that for an entire lap.
He said he let go of the steering wheel.
I would have too. I guess that's a real Jesus take the wheel kind of moment.
He let go of the steering wheel and buried his foot to the floorboard.
Yeah, that's Jesus take the wheel if I ever heard it.
He probably could have gotten Brad Keselowski if Keselowski hadn't thrown the block.
Yeah, but at that point you had already done what you had set out to accomplish.
Yeah. Need 2, got 5.
That's fair. Are you ready for our latest GT Hawkins update?
Yeah.
6.07 seconds over Jeremy Clifton.
That's scary.
That's very scary.
As we're only about just past halfway through this fuel run, and our closest battle, there's just quarter second of a gap between Clifton and Sterling. And
Well, everybody,
Senesac's right there, about a half second back from Sterling.
well, everybody in the YouTube live chat, let us know how many drivers you think will be left on the lead lap if we stay in these conditions, under green, without that thing that we don't want to talk about.
Well, we need something to happen. And as much as I hated the Sunday night races, both of them, I was ready to slit my wrists. It does stop the field from getting more strung out than a homeless shelter on Suboxone.
That's fairly accurate. I mean, yeah, I would say that's the very definition of being strung out for sure. Even as we're watching right now, John Sterling now challenging Jeremy Clifton. He takes the dog leg, and I don't think he's got the run on Clifton he thought he did. In the words of Herman Edwards, we are who they thought they were.
I don't think you're using that phrase right.
I'm just telling you. Just throwing it out there. These cars have a tendency to tighten up later in the race or later in a run. And even John Sterling down here trying to get the run with Jeremy Clifton. He finally gets what he was looking for coming out of the dog leg. Clifton cedes the position away, but to no avail as, well, your latest GT Hawkins sighting leaves him 8.08 seconds ahead of John Sterling now.
Well, you take a look at Sterling coming into 3 or coming out of 4 right now, coming across the start-finish line. Hawkins is in the middle of 1 and 2.
And putting the first driver of the night down a lap, Clifton Cockrell now the first victim of GT Hawkins. And while GT Hawkins is leading this piece, we're going to step aside and pay some bills here on Sim Racing Media.
Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
What's up, guys? Roger Debo, front tire changer for the 45 Alpha Prime car. You're watching Sim Racing Media.
Welcome back to Phoenix Raceway, the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series on lap 44 of 170 here in championship night. And I'll tell you what, it has been an exciting night so far for GT Hawkins, who has opened himself an 8.07 second lead over P2 driver John Sterling. Here on Sim Racing Media, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the youtube.com server. Make sure that you subscribe, turn on those bell notifications, give us a thumbs up, and let us know that you like what you see and hear. Here on Sim Racing Media, Dave Regal and Tony Trapasso in the broadcast booth with you. And Tony, as I had just mentioned, GT Hawkins, a dominant performance tonight, now up to 8.2 seconds ahead of John Sterling.
He is, and we've already seen a couple drivers take it down pit side. You and I were thinking maybe a two-stop race. David Clayman and Clifton Cockrell have both just committed to making this at least a four-stop race.
Yeah, kind of an interesting choice, but you know, maybe they know something we don't, or maybe they're anticipating something that we don't.
Well, like my little league coach used to tell me, you know what happens when you make an assumption, right? You become you become an ass, and the ump will shun you.
That's fair. That's fair. I can go with that. Taking a look right now at Mark Hurricane Hanna chasing down DJ Weeks about 0.3 of a second. Basically the closest battle on track tonight so far at this point in the race, along with Jeremy Clifton being chased down by Bryce Senesac. Basically 3 out of the 4 drivers in the Championship 4 running in the top 4 right now. DJ Weeks, the only Championship 4 driver that is not in that top 4. So he's got some work to do back here, as he has already bled out 3 spots tonight, Tony.
Yeah, that's definitely not a good sign. But our biggest mover tonight is the 11 of Wes Gant, currently sitting +5 back there in 9th. No pressure in front, no pressure from behind for that Chevy driver, as Weeks and Hanna starting to pick things up now.
Yeah, Wes Gant basically hearing from his spotter, just hit your marks and stay out of trouble. As we do take a look at that battle. Let's keep an eye right here as on Weeks.
Yeah, Reimuller, Weeks, and Hanna all separated by only a handful of car lengths. Reimuller just completely biffed turn 1, missed his braking zone, and is lucky to stay up there where he is.
That's a rare mistake for Reimuller. I mean, usually he's one of those drivers that can hit all of his marks with his eyes closed and half his brain tied behind his back just to make it fair.
It kind of reminds me of that the Sylvester Stallone movie where he was driving Indy cars. He drives around the track once and flicks silver dollars out the car, then goes around the next lap and picks them up with the rear tire.
Yeah, I can see that.
At speed.
Oh, yeah. I can absolutely see that. Donna Kay in our live chat saying, go GT. And did I mention his mom taught him to drive? So obviously Donna is, I'm assuming Donna is GT's mom. So apparently she said, you will never be late to soccer practice again, when he started driving himself, as he has now opened up an 8.6 second lead now, Tony.
Absolutely. As Monica Clayman clapping back on that one. Oh, good grief.
It's all in good fun, folks. It's all in good fun. They're in on the joke.
Absolutely. As you know, what can you say other than thanks, Mom?
Well, I guess when it comes to having somebody in your corner, I would always appreciate, you know, having Mom there to back me up.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, to have a mom like David Clayman has, we're going to take a look right here at him once again. To have a mom like David Clayman has, I mean, active duty military, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and, you know, an entire family of servicemen and women, I would reason that that's probably one of the tightest knit families that we have on iRacing.
Probably one of them. As I mean, I can think of a couple other families that I know through iRacing that are very close knit. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Every kid should be as lucky enough to have a mom like Donna or a mom like Monica.
Trust me, when I told my mom that I was going to be doing this for a while, she just kind of stared at me and went, "Oh, that's nice." She kind of looked at me like maybe I should be wearing a helmet when I go to the grocery store.
Oh yeah, no, my mom still doesn't truly understand what I'm doing. She goes, "Are you going racing tonight?" Mom, no, I don't drive. I just talk shit.
That's fair. I mean, it's literally talking shit when you consider that it's verbal diarrhea.
Oh, absolutely. And we get paid to do this 2 hours a night.
I can't believe that they pay me to hang out with my buddy and watch NASCAR.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, it almost makes me wonder
Stop
what the poor
there,
people are
stop
doing.
there, stop there before you dig us a hole.
No, we're fine, we're good.
All right.
It just makes me wonder what the poor people are doing tonight. Chances are...
They're probably watching the race that we get to commentate on.
That's fair. If not... Oh, wow. Clifton getting loose coming out of 2. Finally, a little wobble here. Let's take a look back at that on replay, because I'll tell you what, as we get deeper into this run, we're going to see more and more drivers start to wiggle coming out of turn 2. That's kind of a problem child, as wow. I mean, he managed to keep it faced forward, but that could have gone real sideways real fast.
It absolutely could have, and luckily Bryce Senesac was far enough behind it. He wasn't going to get collected in it as they are fast approaching. I believe that's Alex Carr right in front of him. Yes, it is.
And Rich Reimuller is listed as having crashed.
I see this.
Let's take a look. Not sure what we're about to find here. Maybe it was just slowing down, but taking a look right now at Rich Reimuller in the number 92. Spaceballs the Camaro Chevrolet.
Drift through 1 and 2. Yep, that's what it classified.
Well, isn't that interesting? Oh, he just kept that pointed far enough forward that it didn't bring out the caution.
It was definitely a Code Brown moment, that's for sure.
At this stage in the season, absolutely. And with 59 of now 60 of 170 laps complete, we take a look at the 42 of David Elliott. A lapped car getting right on around here in this car. DJ Weeks now down pit road as he has gotten in there a little cockeyed, Tony.
A little?
Yeah.
Only a little?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to minimize.
Yeah, that's definitely crooked. Got to get that car pointed straight. Luckily, he's got enough room to make the swing to get out of his pit stall. But he's being held.
Isn't that interesting? This is
Why
a problem.
Are they holding him?
I don't see anything yet in the penalty area. You know, it should be a penalty, Tony.
Not going to simracingmedia.com and buying merch?
Oh, no. Everybody should absolutely go there. I was about to say, eating a Hershey Kiss with some type of fruit filling in it. Gross.
Okay, then.
I'm plowing through for some Halloween candy tonight.
Fair enough.
Last night
I have no idea why DJ Weeks was held. It makes no sense. He wasn't over speed down pit road, and they popped him for some offense.
Well, maybe we can get a hold of race control. Let's see if they're around here. Give me a second. Let me go find out.
I'll go find out. You stay here.
You go find out. I'll stay here. Obviously, Tony and I can get our act together, but GT Hawkins now with an 8.37 second lead over John Sterling running in P2. Sterling now with a 30-second lead over David Elliott as green flag pit stops underway. GT Hawkins now on lap 63 coming down pit road 64, I'm sorry. As he is down pit road, that's going to cycle John Sterling to the lead once he finally makes his way around. Sterling going to pick up that all-important bonus point because even though we may be in championship week, every point still counts, as Tony had mentioned earlier. And John Sterling coming around. That will now put David Elliott back on the lead lap. Looks like GT Hawkins getting 4 tires and a tank of Go Fast here in the number 14 Glory Pole Company Toyota Camry. And John Sterling now coming down pit road in the number 3 Stuart Haas Dodge SRT Ford Mustang. And Tony and I have talked about this repeatedly this season. It's just hard to say. I mean, earlier this season he was driving the number 3 GM Goodwrench Ford Mustang. And now, of course, has switched that over to a Dodge SRT. And folks, listen, we've seen a lot. We usually try to show a lot of paint schemes here in our races. We're taking a look right now at the primetime number 42 Chevrolet Camaro driven by David Elliott. Let us know who your favorite paint schemes are in the field tonight. Of course, we'll take a look here at David Elliott, GT Hawkins in that Glory Pole Company number 14 Toyota Camry, David Clayman in the Scum number 15, Bryce Sendesack in the 09 Primetime Chevrolet. So, plenty of really cool paint schemes. If you see one, let us know who it may or may not be, as we're taking a look right now at Clifton Cockrell in the number 10 Chevrolet. Pretty much everybody now cycling back onto the lead lap, with David Elliott, your race leader, with a 2.01 second lead over GT Hawkins.
I am now back. They didn't answer me.
Oh.
Because they're in the hauler and it's locked and I can't get in the hauler.
Did you knock?
Oh yeah, no, I beat the fuck out of the door.
Oh.
I don't give a shit. It's our last race.
All of a sudden now I feel like the guy from Major League. You can't say that on the air, as Harry Doyle says, nobody's listening. So it appears that Monica and Donna are mom friends. The mom-friend bond.
There you go.
Did your mom ever have one of those, like, this is we're mom friends and it's only because you were friends with, somebody else?
Nope, because my parents couldn't stand most of my friends.
All right, then. Well, Tony, now that we've gotten through green flag pit stops, what do you say we step aside and pay some bills again?
We were seriously live?
Yeah.
I'd like to apologize for the phrases and words that I used, ladies and gentlemen. I thought Dave was screwing with me and I thought we were in commercial break.
Nope, we are going to step aside and pay some bills right now on the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series.
Extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
What's up, guys? Roger Debo, front tire changer for the 45 Alpha Prime car. You're watching Sim Racing Media.
And we are back for the final round of the Ricmotech Cup Series, presented by Extreme Scoring. Tony Trapasso, Dave Regal up in the booth with you for this one. And we just received big news. DJ Weeks is called no mas. Put it on the hauler. So that means it's now down to three, who just so happen to be your top three in the race. GT Hawkins, Bryce Senesac, and John Sterling. Closest battle right now is between Sterling and Elliott, with half a second separating those two.
Absolutely, and that battle now just about 0.8 of a second as John Sterling holding off David Elliott with relative ease, as we've seen so many times now. He just got a run over top of Elliott. Right now, closest battle on the racetrack is Rich Reimuller holding off Mark Hurricane Hanna by 0.6 of a second. Tony, this is one of those races that you and I talk about leagues that race clean all the time. And I mean, believe me, folks, we've seen some leagues that do not race near even close to this clean. And, week after week, the Ricmotech Cup Series surprises the bejesus out of us. Tony, it was the night that you weren't feeling very well, and we went 94 green flag laps at Talladega.
Oh, yeah, no, we've gone a lot of races this season, green to checker, without seeing the dreaded flag that shall not be mentioned here at this moment in time. And it's refreshing in some aspects, but you can understand why there are stage cautions in the real world when you get into a situation like this, where your closest battle on track is a 10-car length separation.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of which, Wes Gant holding off Rich Reimuller by 1/4 of a second. Reimuller taking the apron as they get ready to haul it off into turn number 1. The Valvoline Chevrolet ceding the position to Reimuller, or at least for the time being ceding that position, as he surrenders it to Reimuller down the backstretch, side by side into turn 3. Reimuller gets the run and basically hangs out the 11 to dry.
Gant gets shuffled up. That opens the door for Greg Carr. I'm sorry, that's Alex Carr in the 26 to get through as well. Now, Carr not on the same lap as Gant or Hanna, and does have the freshest tires out of those 4 cars.
Yeah, absolutely. And, speaking of Alex Carr in the number 26 Ford Mustang, I mean, he is still holding step for step just behind Rich Reimuller. And Reimuller, of course, running up in 6th position. So Alex Carr, a long way to go to get back on the lead lap. And quite frankly, Tony, once again, I don't think. Oh, I don't want to say it. I don't want to jinx it.
But say it.
No, listen. Okay, here we go. Without a caution, which it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing one anytime soon, a lot of these drivers on our timing and scoring are going to show blue because they're down. But, meanwhile, back at the ranch, it's kind of at a weird point in the race where we could start seeing this group of lead lap cars shrinking.
We are, especially with the pace that GC Hawkins is setting. The last time by was a 28.3. He was 0.2 quicker than anyone else on track that last time by. You compare that to his best lap, which was a 27.28. You're looking at about a second fall off after about 25 laps.
Yeah, it has been just about 25 laps since these cars came down pit road. And, on a Sunday night, I generally use the pay-to-win setup shop. Perhaps you've heard of them. But,
I have not.
Fair enough. I use pay-to-win setups on a Sunday night just because I don't have enough time to build my own, and I'm also not, an engineering marvel. But
you need to talk to Uncle Tony.
Almost every setup shop, whether it was independent or not, that I was talking to, about, the Cup Series, all of these cars getting very tight later on in the race, and it's usually about lap 27 or 28 where they get tight, and then they will loosen back up, Tony.
Right, because you're using the rear brakes to really kind of lock up for just a brief moment, and that really punishes those rear tires. And once you punish them to a certain extent, the overall grip comes back in the fronts.
It was a very weird feeling, and I mean, on Sunday night, I found myself coming in when everybody else did just because I wanted to make sure that I still had the same tires that everybody else had. But overall, I was very comfortable once we got through that tight section of the setup.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it goes in cycles. You have the car being tight, then it'll loosen up, then it'll either tighten up or it'll go the other way. It'll start loose, go tight, and then loosen up. And that's really what you're going to be set with. And once, if you can tell yourself during the feel of the car that you don't like, don't worry, it's going back to where it was. Stay calm and you'll be okay.
Yeah, it's almost like once I fought for about 6 to 8 laps in tight conditions, that's when you start to see these cars free back up. And looks like Bryce Sinisak about to be in that neck of the woods here in the 09 Primetime Chevrolet. As, the more that you look at some of these drivers, we see them fighting that tight condition. And then later on in the run, once again, as you just mentioned, those cars loosening back up. Take a look right now at Mark Hurricane Hanna in the 45. Speaking of hurricanes, another one headed toward the east coast of Florida and up the eastern seaboard later this week, Tony. And, our thoughts and prayers go with one of our colleagues, Angel.
2 of them.
Yeah. Oh, 2 of them. That's right. Matt and Angel, both. And, Florida just was trying to be rebuilt after the most recent hurricane down there, and now they have another one bearing down on them.
Well, you and I live in the Northeast, which has advantages and disadvantages. two of the advantages that you and I have, we generally don't have to deal with alligators in our backyard. And it's very, 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 very rare that we deal with hurricane winds.
No, and in fact, even when I lived up in Jim Thorpe, north of the Blue Ridge Mountain here in Pennsylvania, we were always kind of protected from anything coming up the coast, where here in Philadelphia, when a nor'easter hits, all bets are off. Get your milk, get your bread and eggs, because it's going to be a mess. Meanwhile, up in Jim Thorpe, they'd say, oh, nor'easter? Cool. That'll look nice on TV.
Bring out the snowmobiles.
Oh,
Speaking
God.
of Jim Thorpe, did you hear what just got announced for Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania?
I did. The Professional Box Lacrosse Association has announced their 9th team, and for some reason, they've awarded that franchise to Jim Thorpe.
The only two larger areas where they're putting teams, as far as larger communities, are Syracuse and Raleigh.
I didn't
Everything
understand
else,
the Syracuse
it's all smaller towns.
Here's my question with that. Where are they going to play?
That is a good question.
I have been checking the PBLA website almost daily, and the Jim Thorpe. What are we supposed to call them?
All-Americans.
There we go. The Jim Thorpe All-Americans don't even have an arena assigned to them yet, and quite frankly, I darn sure know that there's nobody, no place up there in that area to house them. So I'm assuming that they're going to be playing at the PP&L Center in Allentown.
That's kind of what I was thinking too, because if you go on their website, it's hard to tell where they're going to be. But you and I definitely need to get together for some lacrosse this winter.
I'm all about it. I know that everybody got together in Miami a couple of weeks ago, of course, for NASCAR, but I'm thinking our good friend out there on the far left coast needs to come east at some point in the cold weather months, and we need to do some lacrosse.
Good luck getting in here in the cold weather months. Might be able to talk him into an end of season game, but the only thing is he'll be back in the booth for baseball at that point.
Which I don't blame him. In fact, right now I'm just going to double check the Jim Thorpe All-Americans page. Nope. Still nothing. In fact, if you look at the Jim Thorpe All-American page on the PBLA website, it says the All-Americans versus the Spark. Location, home.
Oh yeah, it's the league opener.
Yeah, and that's December 29th, and it just says location, home. I can buy tickets, but it's like,
Now,
where?
Do you know why it's those two teams kicking things off?
I do not know.
Well, Jim Thorpe, of course, Native American out of Pennsylvania area.
Kind of. That's a whole thing.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. But anyways, Syracuse has been home to a lot of lacrosse. As a matter of fact, it's one of the winningest programs in NC2A history. And it's basically they're touting this to be the battle of the gyms, where it's Jim Thorpe against Jim Brown, because Jim Brown, star running back for the Cleveland Browns, actually did play lacrosse while he was attending Syracuse.
And now you know. Folks, if you want some more useless sports information, check in with Uncle Tony and Uncle Dave, as Uncle Tony can bring you obscure lacrosse information, and Uncle Dave can bring you obscure baseball. And tonight we even got sprinkled in with football.
Amongst other things.
Right, like our affinity for food and cast iron cooking.
True story.
By the way, the other night, what?
No, just By the way, the other night, that's never a good way to start.
I tried a new recipe, and I actually got to cook in my wok pepperoni fried rice.
What?
Yep.
Go on.
Basically, it was fried rice with a little Italian spin on it. It had like a couple tablespoons of red sauce, to bring up that tomato taste, and pepperoni, hence the term. And I don't want to tell you about the thing that made it a little sweet because I'm afraid that you'll come through the screen and punch me in the mouth. But the recipe called for pineapple.
Okay.
And I mixed that in there, had it in the wok. Dude, it was delicious. And, of course, mozzarella cheese pearls.
Sounds a lot like the way my grandmother used to make her risotto, except she did it sans pineapple and just threw some sugar in there.
Yeah, I really don't think that the next time I'll be doing the pineapple thing, but usually when I try something the first time, I like to follow the recipe to the letter.
And then as you're eating, you're thinking of all the things you can change.
Right. Plus, that way, if it turns into a pile of dung, I can just blame the recipe.
Right.
Right now, it looks like Monica Clayman is on the money for how many cars left on the lead lap. As don't look now, GT Hawkins has a 13.7 second lead over John Sterling. 4 cars left on the lead lap. Tony, when we're running a best lap of 27.28, and GT Hawkins is over almost 14 seconds over John Sterling, he's a half a lap from lapping everybody.
Well, right now he's working on the back bumper of his teammate, Jeremy Clifton. So Clifton about to be the next to fall to his Glory Pole Company GT Racing teammate.
And there it goes as GT Hawkins now puts it to 3 cars left on the lead lap, and they all just happen to be in that championship hunt, as DJ Weeks has been the first car to put it on the hauler for the night.
Dave, I don't want to jinx anybody. I really hate doing that, but let's point this out. First round of the playoffs, GT Hawkins wins both races. Second round of the playoffs, GT Hawkins wins one of the races. And now here in the round of 4, or championship round of the playoffs, GT Hawkins on slate to possibly win both races again.
Not only is he on slate to win both races again, but he's doing it in dominant fashion. I mean, he's now 22 seconds ahead of Bryce Senesac, which actually makes him 6 seconds behind him.
Right. And he's got 15 seconds on John Sterling. And for that matter, Sterling is 7 1/4 over Senesac. So, when you see battles like what are going on right now between Mark Hanna and Greg Carr, it's kind of refreshing to see those.
Yeah, and taking a look right here at Greg Carr, he's up 4 positions on the night so far, running in P6. So, of course, qualifying in the top 10, but right now, he is being chased down by Mark Hanna in the 45. We can see that right here on the lower right-hand corner of your screen, as it looks like they're both trying to chase down Rich Reimuller, but finally, there's only about 0.3 of a second between these two drivers as we watch Hanna start to lurk around to close in on Greg Carr.
You got only about half a second to Reimuller right now, and another just under half a second to Hanna. So Carr not feeling a ton of pressure right now, just looking to bring this one home, as we are fast approaching what should be the money stop for both these guys, or for most of these guys.
Absolutely. Basically everybody, well, who would have been on the lead lap had GT Hawkins not just taken them out by the woodshed. Jeremy Clifton just went down pit road, as well as Wes Gant. So Jeremy Clifton...
Reimuller was drifting.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, just before he entered.
Let's take a look here at Reimuller. We're going to take this from the backstretch here. Take us through this, Tony, as we see him come down into 3. I'm sorry, down into 1.
Well, he's trying to hustle it to get it onto pit road. and he's trying to use as little brake as possible. The back end starts to step out, and he is fighting that wheel to try to keep that car pointed in relatively straight direction. Luckily, he's able to get it woed down in time, hits his marks in his pit box, and I dare say that's save of the night so far.
Without a doubt, Bryce Senesac down pit road, so that's going to make things interesting here atop the pile, as he was one of only 3 cars left on the lead lap up to this point. GT Hawkins, of course, going to make his way around as he gets ready to cross the start-finish line. No indication that he'll be coming down pit road anytime soon as he swings it out here into turn 1. Let's see if Senesac can get himself out before anybody notices, as now John Sterling down pit road. Senesac still sitting on pit road.
Senesac just hit his box.
There he goes. As GT Hawkins now going to make an interesting challenge out of this. I mean, obviously GT has to come down. He was last down on lap 64, but it looks like he's trying to put as much distance between he and the other championship drivers as possible, as much distance as possible.
He immediately calls no mas and brings the Glory Pool Company Toyota Camry down pit side for what should be his money stop here tonight. That's going to allow Greg Carr to get back on the lead lap.
It just gets more and more interesting.
It does. There's so many layers to what we're seeing here tonight that it's almost hard to keep track without a scorecard. But that puts Greg Carr back on the lead lap up into second, who still has to come down for his stop. David Elliott was down on lap 91. Still has one more stop to make in the 42. Sterling is now back on the lead lap and trying to hustle that car. And Hawkins is down and away. 4 in fuel in 14.5 seconds.
You know, the way that this track is configured, Tony, as we're going to go up here into our blimp cam, we can take a look at this track. You know, the way that this track is configured, the entrance to pit road is in basically at the exit of turn 2, and the exit of pit road is at the end of turn 4. So a lot of pit road on this track, Tony.
Well, there is when you break it down that way. I mean, it used to be much simpler. It was you pit coming off of 1 and come out, or coming off of 4 and come out in the middle of 1 and 2. Now that they've moved where the start-finish line is to just before the dog leg, it's kind of changed the feel of this track. And I'm still up in the air of how I feel about this. You know, because I remember growing up as a kid watching the Copper Classic on TNN way back in the day. And, you know, it was nothing for the Wing Super Modifieds, the USAC Pavement Sprints, USAC Pavement Midgets, and USAC Pavement Silver Crown cars to come here and just put on an amazing show. And you had to be worried about the crossover gate on the backstretch just past the dog leg.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, we just saw GT Hawkins do it here with a 14-second, pit stop. And a lot of these drivers, you know, you can come down pit road, and it's not like, for a 1 mile track, this is not your average 1 mile track. You know, you're not losing that much distance, you know, and that much time. As the only thing that really happened after this pit stop, GT Hawkins still your race leader, but it's actually behind him where things have shuffled up a little bit, as David Elliott, John Sterling, Bryce Senesac, and Jeremy Clifton, now the 5 cars on the lead lap. So still 3 out of these top 5 drivers in the final 4, as DJ Weeks has bowed out and hung up his helmet early this evening. But we're back to 5 on the lead lap, Tony.
Make that 4.
Just kidding.
Jeremy Clifton goes a lap down to his GT Racing teammate. And just like that, we've got 4 left as Sterling and Elliott starting to pick up the pace.
And now taking a look at our times that we were discussing earlier, GT Hawkins is 13.84 seconds over top of John Sterling. But at the same time, he's got a 20-second lead over Bryce Senesac, which actually means that he's behind Senesac on track physically by just about 7 to 8 seconds. So obviously, we know that we're going to start to see these guys here on the lead lap start to fall off the lead lap because, quite frankly, GT Hawkins is just too good.
Tonight on this track at this time, it was going to take a miracle and a big mistake for somebody to be able to knock GT Hawkins off the top step of the podium, which will assuredly clinch him the championship here in another 45 laps.
Absolutely, and with that 14.77 second lead, we look elsewhere on the track for anything relatively close to be happening. And right now, David Clayman, just about a second and a half behind Wes Gant. And folks, at a second and a half, that's the closest battle there is. I mean, Tony and I are desperately looking for something to go on, that's not just single file racing. And I'll tell you what, folks, these drivers are talented, and so talented, we haven't seen one of those things that we don't really want to talk about.
Almost, but not exactly. As David Elliott peels off to, this should be the money stop for the 42. So that moves John Sterling back up into second, Bryce Senesac up into third. As right now, Sterling is working on the back of Wes Gant, Gant being a lap car, and not really wanting to give up any more track position.
Absolutely. We're going to take a look here at John Sterling as he is working his way around Wes Gant. Of course, Gant back here in sixth position. And I say back here in sixth position, but, GT Hawkins reminds me a lot of a driver in my Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series who actually, he was really set up to be the winner of the league and unfortunately could not make it to the race last night due to health problems. But, yeah, I mean, he was in the championship 4, and literally on Sunday he was having, some kind of health problems. And yesterday afternoon, I guess he texted Chris Claude and said, "Yeah, Chris, listen, I can't."
That's unfortunate. So GT Hawkins, John Sterling, Bryce Senesac, Jeremy Clifton, Rich Reimuller, your last 5 cars on the lead lap, I think. No, I'm sorry. Hawkins, Sterling, and Senesac, the only 3 cars left on the lead lap. Jeremy Clifton, Rich Reimuller rounding out your top 10, both 1 lap down, or top 5. Wes Gant, Greg Carr, David Clayman in 8th, Mark Hanna in 9th, and Alex Carr rounds out your top 10 as GT Hawkins for the second. This will be the 4th time here in the Ricmotech Cup Series presented by Extreme Racing playoffs. This is the 4th time he stunk the show up completely.
Absolutely, and we are inside 40 laps to go. So, Tony, we're going to step aside one more time here, pay some bills, as we are now counting down to the final laps of Season 14 here in the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com. Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you. Allow extreme scoring to do the work for you.
Ricmotech high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious eSports competitor, Ricmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Ricmotech.com.
What's up, guys? Roger Diebold, front tire changer for the 45 Alpha Prime car. You're watching Sim Racing Media.
147 laps complete of the last 170 laps in Season 14 here on the Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series. You're watching us live on Sim Racing Media on YouTube.com. Dave Regal and Tony Trapasso here in the broadcast booth. GT Hawkins sitting atop the pile right now in the number 14 Glory Pole Company Toyota Camry. He is followed 18 seconds behind by John Sterling in the number 3 Stuart Haas Dodge SRT Ford Mustang. You hear me suddenly pause there because I'm kind of excited that that's the last time I'm going to say that this season. Meanwhile, in the 09 Primetime Chevrolet, Bryce Senesac running in third position, the last car on the lead lap at last check, and he is. And, you know, an interesting look here at the top three. They are all the championship drivers, you know, here in tonight, with the exception of Dennis Weeks, who DJ decided that he was going to put it on the hauler after 65 laps. But regardless, these top three drivers in your standings tonight are also your top three drivers going for the season championship. And, you know, interestingly enough, Tony, this is kind of what it's supposed to look like.
It is, but not in the manner that we're seeing it. Is Bryce Senesac is less than half of the back straightaway from going a lap down in third.
Yeah, this is even beyond Bentley Glazer.
I dare say this makes Bentley Glazer look like a hack.
You're not wrong. You're honestly not. You know, I mean, we've had in my Monday night Xfinity series, we had a fella named Mike Wright who he could try to pull this off, but they were open setups. Folks, you have to understand these are fixed setups. Everybody out here has the exact same chassis setup as everybody else. So, you know, this is all driver skill, and basically GT Hawkins said, come on out back to the woodshed. We have some things to talk about, and is just schooling the entire field tonight in the Extreme Scoring Ricmotech Cup Series.
Bear with me, Dave. Just handling a couple of issues.
"19 laps to go here in Season 14 with GT Hawkins leading the way. We have had nothing but green flag racing since the moment the flag dropped at the beginning of this show. And, you know, Tony, we talked about a certain league that you and I, well, that you were calling on Sunday and that I was watching, and they were having a little bit of trouble getting started. And sometimes I think that when you see another league running, you know, like I told you, I was watching you to see the race because I was about to race at Phoenix. And, of course, I do watch a lot of our broadcasts as we are 7 days a week busy right now on Sim Racing Media. But I like to watch several of our other shows just because it gives me some pointers, and it also lets me know about what the average is, you know, for cautions and things like that on iRacing.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, just the last couple of weeks have been a nightmare situation. That I need to go back to drinking so I can forget about what happened over the past couple of weeks here.
Yeah, you have been inundated with cautions.
Yeah, 31 at Martinsville, 22 at Phoenix on Sundays.
Yeah, that is, for a broadcaster, that is some of the hardest work that any of us will do.
Yeah, congratulations, you guys set a record, but I don't think you want to be proud of that record.
Nah, it's kind of like, you know, being the losingest sports franchise in the Big Four sports. You don't want to be that guy.
So you're saying you don't want to be a Cubs fan?
Actually, the Philadelphia Phillies were the first professional sports franchise to make it to 10,000 losses. Do you want to guess what year they did that?
1942.
Close. 2008. Oddly enough, the year that they broke the record for most losses as a professional sports franchise, it was also the same year that they went to and won the World Series.
Oh, that's a giant middle finger.
I'll say. Speaking of a giant middle finger, let's take a look right now at GT Hawkins and Bryce Senesac as GT Hawkins is side by side with Senesac coming out of turn 4. And then with 13 to go, there were 2.
There were, and I know that's not something Senesac was hoping to see, but you gotta be proud of the season that he's had. Started the season off, ripping off a couple of wins early, stayed in the top 5 in points all season long. I don't think he dropped out of the top 5 at any point. And, he's still around racing for a championship, although with 12 to go, it'll be 11 at the line. That possibility is quickly dwindling away.
Absolutely. And I dare say I don't think John Sterling will be lapped by GT Hawkins, as basically GT is 8 seconds behind him with 12 to go. But I got to be honest, Tony, I have yet to see a race where your race winner laps the entire field, and I think this is as close as we're going to get for quite a long time.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility, but as Hawkins is going into 1, as Sterling is going into 3, there's still a lot of track to be made up. Sterling's going to have issues if Hawkins is going to get by him.
Absolutely. And right now, it just looks like Hawkins wanted to put a clinic on with now 10 to go. And those 10 laps are about to melt off of these cars. I mean, one of the things that I always think about is, at least when not in a public server, of course, when you're racing in a public server here on iRacing, you're looking at the number of laps because you're trying to calculate, okay, how good can I make my safety rating if I finish with a 0x? On the other hand, when you're in a league race and you're about to run 170 total laps, now you're not looking at it from the lap perspective because safety points don't matter in a league race for reasons I'm not quite sure of. But what's actually interesting, in my opinion, is that where was I going with that? Oh, that now you're not looking at number of laps, but the time of that race, as they've managed to make 170 laps disappear as far as time goes.
Less than an hour 20, and that's nothing short of impressive. And a lot of that has to do with the pace that GT Hawkins has set here tonight at Phoenix. As we are working 8 to go, it'll be 7 to go at the line. Hawkins and Sterling going to be the only 2 on the lead lap at the finish as of right this second. It's heartbreak for Bryce Senesac. It was definitely heartbreak for DJ Weeks when he got that iRacing glitch coming onto pit road and it held him in his box when it shouldn't have. So, but, just think of the final half of the season that GT Hawkins has had. First round of the playoffs, wins both races. Second round of the playoffs, wins one of the races. Now in the third round or round of 4, he's looking to clean sweep again. And the question remains, does anybody have anything for this guy?
I'll tell you what, if I was on track right now, I'd probably think about just parking it. There's no reason to be out there. I mean, your points, whatever points you earn for tonight, they aren't going to matter. It's almost like, from whose line is it anyway? The points don't matter, and nobody cares.
No, that's from New York, where the weather is made up and the seasons don't matter.
That's fair. That's because it's usually cold or hot. The other seasons, they don't really matter.
Well, we have 2 seasons here in Central New York. We have winter and road construction. That's it.
Here's the thing, and we talk about road construction. In New York and Pennsylvania, both, with as harsh as some of our winters get, a lot of the road construction is because of the abuse that some of the asphalt takes in our respective states.
Well, mostly your state, because you guys don't scrape your roads.
No, there's a lot of
you get all this water heavage.
Which is true. There is one community in Schuylkill County, perhaps you can think of it,
Why
that
am I
still
not
uses
shocked?
that still uses hot coals, cinders to clear their streets. You want to take a stab at it?
Centralia.
Close. There you go. Just a short trip away on 54, but Shenandoah still uses hot cinders on the streets.
Yep.
Can't imagine what that does. I mean, look, it's making sure that you use it for everything that it's worth. GT Hawkins crosses the start-finish line. Popsicle sticks are in the air. We are racing to white flag.
David Clayman trying to make the decision of, do I want to let him just go and get this over with? Or do I want to try to struggle for another lap? As they come down the hallway into turn number 3, GT Hawkins with a good lead, 20 3/4 seconds. Coming out of turn number 4 for the final time. White flag is in the air. We are racing back to checkers, Dave.
GT Hawkins crosses the start-finish line. He still has David Clayman in his sights to put him down another lap, but at this stage in the race, there's no reason to try to get aggressive. There's no reason to do anything except for bring that number 14 Glory Pole Company Toyota Camry home. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been waiting all season long to find out who was going to be crowned our champion tonight as he drafts right up to the rear of David Clayman. He backs off a little bit, crosses the start-finish line, and ladies and gentlemen, your Ricmotech Extreme Scoring Cup Series champion is GT Hawkins from Columbus, Ohio.
Hawkins just put on a dominating performance here tonight. John Sterling coming across now and finally puts an end to his race, done and now dusted. Bryce Senesek coming across now for third. But what a drive GT Hawkins just had. As I'm just trying to find him.
Yeah, you know, GT Hawkins all season long has been a dominant force on the track. A couple of wins to his credit here in the playoffs, as you had mentioned earlier. And he just never let up off the throttle. And the Columbus, Ohio native laying down some rubber here on the infield at Phoenix Raceway. As our 3 final drivers here in the playoffs are all lined up real nice here on the start-finish line. As, of course, they're posing for their championship photograph.
I did.
And, Tony, I believe that you do have GT Hawkins with you there in the broadcast booth.
GT Hawkins completely stinking up the show tonight, lapping everybody except John Sterling. Congratulations on finally coming home with the championship here in the Ricmotech Cup Series presented by Extreme Scoring.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I've been racing here a long time and raced with these guys for a long time, several seasons, I think about 3 years now. So, yeah, it means a lot to win the championship here and race against these guys every week. I have a blast doing it. So I'm appreciative of everything they do for to make the league a good place and a fun place to race.
Well, let's talk about what you were able to do here in the playoffs this season. Round 1 of the playoffs, you swept both races. Round 2 of the playoffs, you won one of the 2 races. Round 3 of the playoffs, you just swept both of these races as well. You won 5 out of 6 in the playoffs. That's really putting the rest of the league on notice of, hey, this is my year.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of green flag runs, and that favors my driving style. So that I think was probably the biggest factor. But no, I mean, it wasn't easy. I wasn't really hardly ever cruising. even tonight I was driving hard, but especially last week, I had to work really hard to get that win just to put me in a more comfortable position this week. So it wasn't easy, certainly. I'll say that.
How much fun was it to realize that you put everybody except the second place finisher a lap down?
The only thing I could think was that's a good place to be if we get a caution. Then I get to have a few lap battle with Sterling there, who ran really good tonight. So thought that would have been interesting if we got a late race caution there.
Yeah, absolutely. But GT, you should be proud of the entire GT Motorsports crew. As I believe you guys put three of you. Yes, you did. Three of you in the final championship 4. And, I mean, you guys have been one of the strongest teams all season.
Yeah, and I'm super appreciative of those guys too. They've been racing with me for a long time and on GT Motorsports. It means a lot to me. They're good friends to me, so it means a lot to be able to get to race with them every week.
GT Hawkins, we're going to let you go celebrate with your team. Again, congratulations on the championship, winning the race, you won the battle and the war. Who do you need to thank?
First thank Ed and everybody at Extreme for putting this on. Really appreciate them. Ricmotech for sponsoring the series. You guys for broadcasting did an awesome job. I really enjoyed watching the races back every week. Glory Pole Company for sponsoring us this year. All my teammates, GT Motorsports, all my friends, family that are out there watching. My mom, Tim, Landon, my girlfriend, for letting me do this. Monty out there is watching, I'm sure too, and all my work friends. I appreciate you.
All right, GT Hawkins, one more time, congratulations on the championship. We'll see you next season.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
And Dave, I believe you have the driver of the Haas Automation Dodge Mustang Ow. That hurts to just say.
John Sterling, Dave Regal in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Listen, you just finished second to GT Hawkins, one of only 2 drivers on the lead lap here at the end. How are you feeling after this run? I mean, trying to chase down GT Hawkins.
I mean, coming into Phoenix, it's not one of my favorite tracks. And I was actually doing maintenance on my pedals because I noticed last week that the throttle was sticking when I wanted to come off the throttle. So did a few practice runs. Like after the first run, I was like, wow, I'm like pulling away from the rest of the field here. Like I'm feeling good about this. And it kept going and going and going and every pit stop run. So like this is probably the most fun I've ever had at Phoenix.
Yeah, and it's interesting when I see a lot of the drivers that comment and say things like, hey, listen, this is not, a track that I generally like. It turns out that they wind up practicing that particular track even harder during their, during the interim between weeks. Me personally, I love Phoenix, and I didn't put a whole lot of practice into it for my race on Sunday night. But, for what you do here on a Tuesday night, man, I can't imagine how much practice time you really get to put in.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of tough because I'm also running the road series. So, I mean, I try to fit in whatever practice time I can on the weekends. But as it started getting towards the Final Four and I had a shot of being in it, GT was helping me out with some tools and things to, kind of sharpen up my lines with what practice time I had. And it helped pay off, actually. Well, again, like with the lack of time that I have, normally I run a paint scheme that is it's for I can't think of it right now. Like the race has kind of mind melted me here, but it's a Be to Match Foundation. There we go. I used to run with Bryce Whitson, who used to run with the league here, and I normally run some sort of paint scheme that represents Be to Match because that was one of the foundations that he truly supported, and him being like a victim of leukemia, that was the foundation that tried to help him out as much as they could until he passed away. And we even ran like a whole endurance series back in 2018 called Laps for Leukemia, where Be the Match was our main sponsor. The only issue is it's for me trying to find time to paint, and I think at some point I just need to pay somebody to paint my car.
I know a guy.
So do I.
You do?
He's a lot closer to you than you think he is. In fact, I get to sit with him every Tuesday night.
No. I'm talking about a guy that makes me look like an amateur.
Oh, fair enough.
Reach out to Greg McConey.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I'll have to do that.
Well, before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank for this championship or for this runner-up championship season?
I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting our season. It was fun to watch after, on the Wednesdays I would, go into work or just be at home recapping what happened during the races, see what I missed, where I could have improved. Thanks to the admins up at the booth. Always great on the oval side. It was a lot of fun this season. Thanks XMS League. Always fun to run with them. I've been with them for a while. Thanks GT Motorsports. Good teammates. Like I said, they've helped me out throughout the season. This is probably the best season I've ever had at XMS, results-wise, and couldn't have done it without them. And also, most importantly, thanks to my friends and family, especially my girlfriend Carrie, who's been really supportive of me running iRacing both Mondays and Tuesdays, and couldn't have done any of this without all of them.
All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations on this performance for season 14, and I'm fairly certain, without a shadow of a doubt, we will see you next season, my friend.
Yeah, will too. I also forgot to thank Ricmotech to sponsor the series, but thank you guys as well.
All righty. And Tony, I believe you do have the third and final podium finisher for tonight, and of course, third in our point standings for the season, Mr. Bryce Enesak.
Well, we're still waiting on confirmation as to how the final points did shake out. The only one we're positive of is the champion. Ed is going to be doing the calculations right now. But Bryce Enesak, driver of the Primetime 09, all things considered, you can't be too disappointed in this season.
No, I mean, I think looking stats-wise, this was percentually like my best season since the first season I ever did in this league in the trucks. So I mean,
You were in the top 2 in points from the season beginning.
Yeah, I mean, like I think we held on to like second in points. I'm hearing like before you guys got to me, I think I was hearing that me and John tied, and I had the tiebreaker on wins. But second's good and all, but like at the same time, it's just really frustrating. I've been in this position, I feel like, countless times. Even when we had like the chase format, I'd be like really consistent going in, and then it just wouldn't being up, and then the guy I'm racing for wins like 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 of the playoff races. But
And it has been confirmed, Bryce, you did come home with second place, and that does carry a cash prize with it. So not too shabby for a night's work.
yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, like I said, like that's all like good and all, but like I was kind of in this position last season, and like countless times before, like I got like a corner in my room with, I think this is gonna be my 10th plaque that I'm getting from this league, and I had like 1 first place and then like a bunch of seconds and thirds. So a little annoying being in the same spot, and especially like tonight, like GT was on top for tonight. I need to win this thing, and him to I think finish at least third for me to win this whole thing, and it was kind of like a punch in the gut there at them not only winning but lapping me at the end. So good on him, but yeah, just have to go on to next season and see what I can do.
Well, Bryce, I mean, this is one of those tracks that this was an anomaly. This is the first race I've ever done at Phoenix that has gone green to checker without seeing a yellow flag. But we're going to let you go celebrate the champion, the second place in the championship, and third place on the track tonight. Who do you need to thank before we turn you loose?
I mean, it's everyone on prime time. And Ed Morris Senior. I mean, Eddie doesn't only just run this league or on the team, but I mean, he took control of this whole series, and he's done a pretty good job with it. Just try and keep it going and get more people to show up throughout the year. You guys for all the broadcasts you've done for all season, and of course Ricmotech for all they've done with, like you said, he got prizes at the end of the season for, like, not only, I think, was it top 3 or 4 in the championship, but I mean,
Top 4 and 13th.
Yeah. So all thanks for Ricmotech just to hand out like cash prizes like that throughout the season. I mean, I even got one for winning the regular season. So, thanks to them for coming on board and doing this for us.
Absolutely. Bryce Senesac, best of luck to you next season.
Thanks.
Well,
And
Tony.
Dave, one more thing to talk about.
I
We need to bring up the Chief Cook and Bottle Washer here for the Ricmotech Cup Series presented by Extreme Scoring, Mr. Ed Morris. And Ed, we've got another season in the books, my friend.
Oh, we got lots ahead of Extreme here going forward, starting back up in January. We'll be bringing on 3 series. The Cup Series will be taking a season off from Cup, but the Cup Series will be replaced by the Xfinity Series, and we'll have ARCA and trucks running as well.
Very cool. Very cool.
You have my attention, sir.
Yeah, we might have just lost Dave in the booth. But we did notice, and I'm gonna let you announce the season prize purse and who's getting paid.
Okay, so we had a total prize purse for this season. Let me pull up my sheet here so I'm not trying to go off the top of my head here. So we had a total season purse of $835 this season, and that paid out 5 positions. Tonight's payouts will be 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 13th place. The 5th position that was already paid out, that was paid out at the end of the regular season after race 10. That was to the regular season championship or champion. The regular season champion this season was Bryce Senesac. For tonight's results, the results are final. We have GT Hawkins as our champion. He'll be receiving $250 tonight. Coming in 2nd place, and 2nd and 3rd tied. So there was a tiebreaker there. Coming in 2nd place was Bryce Senesac. He will be receiving $150 for 2nd place tonight. And then just getting inched out by the tiebreaker, Bryce had more wins than John Sterling did this season. But coming out in 3rd place this season is John Sterling. He'll be receiving $100. And then in 4th place, we'll go to DJ Weeks. Unfortunately, he had some technical issues tonight and was unable to finish. But he will round out the top 4 for the season. And then we did something new with this as an incentive to the guys that didn't make the playoffs. Is we paid out the 13th position. So
Which
the
would
guys
be best of the rest.
Right. Which would be, that was one payout spot that the guys that didn't make the playoffs that still had the opportunity to race for something, and to try to incentivize drivers to stay and stick around during the playoffs that didn't make them. And that position pays out $70, which is $10 more than the entry fee, so you get your money back and some. And that is getting paid to Wesley Gant. So he'll be taking home that prize money. And then we have a raffle that's going to be taking place here in just a little while during our post race meeting for a gift card to Ricmotech.
Very cool. Very cool.
That is
but
incredible.
Ed, you dropped a bomb on us there. But go ahead, Dave.
That is an incredible purse. I mean, so many of these leagues, usually you're able to take care of, maybe the top 3, 4, and 5 drivers. But I mean, you you're able to build the competition level in this league based on what guys are racing for. You know, when there's a prize like that, you know, these guys are out here with their eyes on the prize, and it's just incredible to listen to you rattle all of those prizes off.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it gives the guys here, you know, more of the race for than just points and bragging rights and everything like that. This league is a non-profit league. Everything that I take in pays the bills to keep this place running, and everything else goes back to the drivers. I think that's the way it should be, and I think that's a benefit, and it helps bring in drivers. You know, I dedicate a lot of time to this league, and I think that time pays off because we have a fantastic league here. We have a lot of drivers and members that love the race here, and we're still steadily growing. You know, we had one full-time series at the end of this year. We just brought on the ARCA series for a short 10-week season here that just started up 5 weeks ago. So we're halfway through that short season, and then next year we're kicking off with 3 full-time series. So a lot of good things to look forward to, and a lot of fun that's going to be happening here in the next couple months.
And Tony, you were about to bring up an announcement that Ed had just made.
Yeah, I wanted to touch base about the 3 series that you guys are going to be running starting in January. That is huge. The fact that you're opening the extreme motorsports and Ricmotech fan base to even more competition. You know, Ed, I dare say you guys are doing everything right here with this league, and congratulations on the continued success.
I appreciate it, man.
But I dare say that's about going to do it for us tonight, Dave.
Yeah, Tony, usually we'd say that's another race in the books, but Tony, this is another season in the books. And from start to finish here, from July until now, the racing in the Extreme Scoring Ricmotech Cup Series has been incredible. And the leadership here, we can't be more grateful for, you know, as, you know, we've been fortunate enough and privileged enough to sit here and watch these races and get to hang out together. Obviously, they like, at least for a while, listening to you and I here on the air week after week after week. And I personally can't be more thankful. I think I speak for both of us when I say how grateful we are for, you know, being able to hang out with these guys every week. And Tony, this is our second full season that you and I have called together. Of course, we've done the Western States Racing League and now this, and we've done a smattering of other things together. But man, what a run this has been this season.
Oh, it absolutely has. I mean, we had more caution-free races than we had total number of cautions, and that's something to be really. The other leagues that run in iRacing really need to take a look at the blueprint here. And I'm not saying that, you know, this is the way it should be, but it's definitely a step in the right direction of, you know, have full-time race control that doesn't drive while performing their duties. You know, having it be a true non-for-profit where the driver entry fees and the sponsorship money all gets paid out throughout the season, whether it be for the broadcast or for the prize pool. But, you know, as soon as I found out these guys were coming back with this league, I'm like, oh, heck yeah, we need to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you had first messaged me about doing this league, I'm never skeptical when Tony says, "Hey, I've got this one. We should do this together." And once again, you did not disappoint in getting me involved with this league. And you know, of course, here on Sim Racing Media, we can't be more thankful for people like Ed Morris and Ed Morris Sr. because you know it's without these kind of leagues and this kind of dedication, we don't have jobs, and Sim Racing Media doesn't have content to put on the air every week. And you know, again, for everybody at Sim Racing Media, and of course for Tony and I, thank you again to Ricmotech and the Extreme Scoring Cup Series.
Absolutely. But that is going to do it for us here tonight. For Mr. Dave Regal, for Mr. Ed Morris, this is Tony Trapasso reminding you, ladies and gentlemen, that until we meet again as you walk down the road of life, first of all, happy holidays. It's going to be a while before we see you again on a Tuesday. But in the meantime, don't play in traffic. Good night, everybody.
Ricmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, ricmotech.com.